It is very important, I would say, to have some direction, because the internet is so vast, is so huge, that sometimes the content, the amount of content that is available and the amount of guidance that is available can be actually baffling. Because the same thing has been approached in a different way by different people, and that especially in art, 2 and 2 plus 2 is not always 4. There is no right and wrong, so it can actually leave you very baffled sometimes. So yes, I would say it is nice to have a mentor, a guide, somebody who understands you as a person as well.
Right, hello to the noble viewers, good people over the internet. Today we have with us Nihira Joshi Deshpande, a composer and a vocalist all the way from India. Right now she is in Germany, which is very good. Once again, thank you so much for joining and taking the time out to do this. It means a lot.
Thank you, Suparna. Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for taking the time out to do this. Yeah.
Right.
Were you born into a musical family? How did all of this music thing started with you? Were you passionate about that, or you really had this that okay, I'll be a musician when I grow up?
I don't come from a musical family, as in they do not belong to music professionally. This is how I would put it.
Hey.
But they're all lovers of music. My parents, my extended family, everybody. But no one has taken up music professionally. So when I was a child and I used to just hum, you learn nursery rhymes in school, you learn songs and you just start humming. That's when my mother spotted that probably she is she's just not singing directionlessly, but she does have some understanding, some understanding of tuning. So she took me to a friend of hers who was a trainer of Indian classical music at that time, Rupa Shamba. And she confirmed that yes, your daughter has musical genes inside her, but right now I was 5 or 6 at that time, so that was too young to start training. So I started training formally at the age of 9 with Mrs. Vidya Zahil ji, Indian classical again, and I was parallelly learning light classical from Padma Shri Kalyan ji, from Kalyan ji Anand ji. And then later on, I went on to learning from Dr. Jyoti Kaye. And currently, I'm training with Mrs. Anuradha Kuber from the Dindi Bazaar Gharana. And at the same time, I'm learning a bit of keys from Sasmit Rupzir. So this is how it all started.
So when I was 5 or 6, I was probably beating up kids or something of that sort. When did you think that, okay, were you academic as well in your school, or you were totally invested into music, humming, singing all the time?
No, I was academically interested also, but I was never one of the class toppers. I was always I've always been the dark horse. I would bloom in the second half of the academic year, and slowly, initially, all around the world, actually, I would say there's a lot of insistence and emphasis on math and science, and I was not particularly good at that.
Right.
So until and unless that ruled, I believed I was a dumb child. But once I entered junior college and I started learning, English, there was psychology, there was sociology, there was logic, I chose arts. So that's when I actually realized that, I was not dumb. I was just not learning subjects of my interest.
Yeah.
So it was actually in college that I became more inclined towards academics. But before that also, I was not a bad performer.
Yeah.
But yes, I was more inclined to music in general. I was sincere academically also, although not as bright, but sincere, yes.
This is a kind of a pattern I've noticed among creative individuals, that they're not good at something, but they're extremely good at something else, which normally other people can't even dream of, having that kind of a quality in a certain kind of a craft, right? So in my class,
I believe all of us have exclusive, niche or something that we are born to do.
Perfect.
It's only a matter of time when we find out what exactly is your goal or purpose of coming into. It's only about that moment. Now that moment can arrive when you're 20. That moment can arrive when you're 30. Well, it can happen when you're 40 also. So yeah.
Art has no competition. The similar pattern I noticed when I was like really small in our class. I was not the bad student. I was worse than bad. So, but I was good at sports. So I used to play a lot of sports, from school games to national to state, district, everything. And what happened? What happened in that point of time was I've seen like the two categories of our class, especially. One was the bright kids who would anyway cry if they get 99 out of 100 also. We all know those kind of people.
Yeah.
And there was other half who never used to study but anyway used to get 99. And they were always happy.
Yeah.
And the third category was us. Never used to study.
Yeah.
Nothing. But we're good at something at least.
Yeah.
And there's also fourth category. They're good at nothing.
When they are certain that fourth category would have found their passion by now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Then late founders, exactly.
In school, that happens with all of us because of the assessment system. You're made to believe that, okay, if you score well in these areas, you're good. But as you grow older in life, you have more experiences, you realize that there is far more to life than scoring academically.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when people discover their true passion and shine.
Exactly, yeah. Now, you mentioned a really interesting thing that you went to a lot of guidance and mentorship through music, learning from so many different people. So from your experience of that, as you said, you have started training formally from the age of 9.
Yes.
How much how is it important, or how important it is for a musician who wants to grow in the craft or own their craft in a very well-to-do way, to have guidance from mentors? Because nowadays what happens is internet has come in, we have a hugely competitive landscape, the environments are growing competitive day by day, everyone is trying to be like, my music is better than you and this and that. So how important is that in today's day and age, in the 21st century, like having guidance and mentors or people who have already done what you want to do, advices from them?
It is very important, I would say, to have some direction, because the internet is so vast, is so huge that sometimes the amount of content that is available and the amount of guidance that is available can be actually baffling. Because the same thing has been approached in a different way by different people, and that especially in art, 2 and 2 plus 2 is not always 4. There is no right and wrong. So it can actually leave you very baffled sometimes.
Yeah.
So yes, I would say it is nice to have a mentor, a guide, somebody who understands you as a person as well. The key is finding such a person, finding such people. Then you need not, limit yourself to just one mentor. You might study, you might want to learn an instrument, so you're training with somebody else. You might want to learn a different form of vocals, so you're training with somebody else. Whoever you're training with, it is important that you and your mentor, you understand each other as persons also, apart from artists, so that your mentor understands where you come from. It would be nice if mentors also start sharing their own creative struggles with their disciples.
Exactly.
And drop the aura and the facade of perfectionism.
I agree.
If they also struggle in front of their disciples, sometimes, while, creating something, and they accept that, I have got a creative block over here. The disciple would know that, it is all right to have a creative block. If they see their mentors struggling. So that candid and that open very, very honest relationship between a mentor and a mentee is very important.
Yes.
And I'm extremely lucky. I'm currently training with Nihira Joshi Ji, and we have such a candid and an honest relationship with each other. And I'm very happy and lucky to be training with her in vocals. And similarly, I'm training with Susmit right now, and I would say the same for him. So yes, I guess that's how it would be nice to have such a relationship in your life.
Exactly, because what happens is when we have mentors, or what we know as in Indian classical music, we have gurus who preach us music about, tell us about music, right? And what happens is if they drop this, that I'm a perfectionist, you're a disciple of me, and instead they say, okay, right now, the phase which you are going through, maybe you're not able to compose something in a pair of rag or something else, or maybe in a very Western way, you can't compose anything in the key of G major or something of that sort. It's fine, because I once also struggled. I still struggle sometimes. Then what happens is, there is no guru-disciple relationship. There's a friend-friend relationship who grows together, which I think. We both learn while we are teaching. Like as we say, like teaching is learning twice. To teach is to learn twice, right? So if the guru also tells that, okay, I also make mistakes sometimes, it's absolutely fine. Then the disciple feels that, okay, if I make a mistake, it's fine. Exactly, yeah.
And at the same time, the guru exposes their vulnerable part in front of you. It's the job of the disciple at the same time to treat that as a human aspect. And, you know, that respect has to be there.
Yeah.
Constantly.
Yep.
Both ways.
Exactly. But normally what happens is, like as you say, like one simple thing is being taught by you by self-proclaimed people on the internet, teaching you, okay, this is how you market your music, this is how you do and get into the music business. It kind of becomes overwhelming. Like, क्या choose करना है मेरे को? सब देखो, 10 videos देख लो, नहीं.
No, it can be very overwhelming. It can be very baffling. At the end, you have to follow the path that only resonates with you, because not everything is going to agree with your personality. Not every approach is going to agree with your character, your personality. So you have to go with what resonates with your own calling.
Yeah.
And just believe in that.
Like what feels natural, and you get pulled towards that organically, rather than you have to pushing yourself all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. In terms of, when did you think seriously, okay, I'll go career-wise, I'll be a musician, because that's what I love doing, and it comes very naturally to me. Like, how did you sit down and figure out, what was that phase? Because I guess that was a really interesting as well as a frustrating phase, if I'm not wrong.
Actually, it happened very naturally, to be honest, because I started training since the age of 9. Then I started singing, and slowly, you know, I started getting professional offers, and I have a very encouraging set of parents. So they never stopped me from pursuing my passion, and at the same time, they were very careful about not pushing me into doing something I did not want to do.
Yeah.
So I was very blessed to have this kind of an environment in the house. And at some point, it just became, it was just naturally defined for me that nothing else makes me as happy as music does. So, yes, at the same time, I studied Spanish also. Then I was working as a Spanish language translator and interpreter before marriage for a Spanish government company in India that worked with the Indian Navy. Then even after marriage, I worked as a Spanish language teacher for an IB school, parallelly with music, because music, as we all know, is a very unpredictable field.
Yeah.
It not necessarily helps you pay your bills all the time. So it was something I was doing until I had my daughter. But after I had my daughter, I had a full-time responsibility. So that's when I decided to choose music 100%. And you know, that was not just the reason. I realized that if I keep doing something else, I always have a choice to flip out.
Yeah.
I want to be in a situation when I have nowhere to go if I slip out. So I have to keep doing my music, and that's when I will invest in my passion 100%. I have to give it all.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the point. After my daughter was born, that I decided that now it has to be 100% music.
So was the choice like difficult? Like you have to sit down and think really hard, or it was like natural? Like, okay, let's shift to music. I'll give it my 100% and let's see what comes out.
No, I didn't have to think really hard. As I said, nothing else makes me as happy as music does. So I decided to give it all, simply.
So that was like a natural process, yeah. How do you, like, I've seen you've collaborated with a lot of big names in the industry, Arijit Singh and a lot of other singer-songwriters. Like, for years you've been working in the industry, and I've seen a lot of aspects. So, from your experience, how do you see, or how would you interpret the music industry in India, especially?
I'm sorry, I did not get your question. Interpret the industry as in
like there are a lot of segments in the industry: the film music, non-film music. What are your thoughts on the non-film music side of the industry?
Okay, yeah. See, well, I have worked in the Hindi film industry briefly, very briefly, and that because of my mentors Shankar Ehsan. I started, working with them, and through them, I got the opportunity of singing for Kill Dil, for Marigold, for Bunty Aur Babli, and Salaam-e-Ishq, and a few films. And I've been doing Marathi films as well. But at some point, I asked myself the question that, okay, when you go and sing film songs, you go and sing somebody else's composition, then somebody else's thought that you're executing. Where is my thought? Where is my sound? And that is where I decided to, give it a shot, that let me start composing, and then melody started flowing in very naturally. And this is how I decided to, venture into non-film music in order to satisfy my own desire to express what I have inside.
That's beautiful. How would an artist who is like emerging, or like thinking about taking a career in music right now in this 21st century, where we have maybe threats of AI and artificial intelligence? Maybe I was just seeing that artificial intelligence, the chat GPT and all of these, the bots have been writing good songs and lyrics, and I was like, cool, now let's we'll lose our jobs, great. But how do you see, is it a right choice if someone is opting for a career in music for the long term? Like, how do you see the future of the music business, so to speak?
To be honest, I don't consider myself qualified enough to answer this question, because I'm not too aware of these things myself. But I am aware of the fact that a lot of artificial intelligence has come into picture. It began with, tuning softwares.
Yeah.
Earlier we didn't tune. But then today it's very common to tune a certain note that is out of tune or whatever. And now there are softwares, there are, I don't know what they call them, but programs writing lyrics, composing also. At some point there will be samples of voice that can be produced without an actual human voice also. So all of this is very scary, to be very honest. It is extremely scary. But at the same time, I would like to believe in the fact that there is no art without soul. At the end, what's the use if there is no soul feeling what is being created? Whatever the artificial intelligence will create will be great, intellectually great. But at the end, if it comes out of a soul that's feeling some kind of pain or some emotion that person cannot contain inside and wants to express, I guess that will be more organic. So, and whatever is created organically will never be replaced. As they say, some things have no replacement. कितना भी machines आ जाए, कितना भी technology आ जाए. So yes, it is threatening, it is scary, but we have to rise above that. We have to, as a community, make sure that we just put that to good use rather than letting that rule us. Just to give a small example, sometimes when we record lines, we have several takes, okay? The other day, a few months back, I was recording something and there were a few takes of the same line. And when we heard those multiple options, there was this one particular take which was conveying the emotion in the most effective way. And there were other takes also, but that particular take, it had a slight tuning issue on one note somewhere. And the other takes were technically good. Then the dilemma was, what should we do? Should we retain the technically good ones or should we work on that? And that's where the composer, I was singing a ghazal, and the composer took a call that I like the emotion behind this particular line. It conveys the emotion to me like no other line does. And to make you sing that again and replicate it, duplicate it is mechanical. Let me just tune this small part, but I like this line. So I guess this is good use of technology, where it was used to retain the organic element of the line or whatever. I thought, okay, it was a fair call. Rather than, using a line that was just technically brilliant but emotionally dry. Using that and using technology to fine-tune it was okay. So these things are very subjective at the end.
This was the same answer. I was having a conversation with an entrepreneur. Like, he has built a software company of some online plugins, and he has recorded some really great bands in the past. He had the same answer. I asked him, okay, what do you think is AI going to take over the music? And he said, well, see, it's kind of like this. There's a plane like this on 180 degrees. The AI will rise up, will cherish it, and then it will fall back down. I asked why. He said the same answer, that when we're hearing something created by an AI software, an artificial intelligence program or a machine, at the back of our head, we're like, ye to machine ne banaya, perfect to ho gayi. But at the same time, when a human makes or sings it, we want or more are naturally inclined to, nahi, mere ko na ek insaan ke gali ki awaaz sunna hai, rather than a machine singing something or producing something. We have that acha, this is a human being created, or we have that similarity ki an organism like me has created something like this, rather than something which is not a part of it, which is a machine.
True, so we have to at the end decide how much are we going to allow it to rule us.
Exactly.
It's up to us.
Like, we have created it, now it's time for us to bound its limitations.
It can be put to great use. It can be, provided it doesn't replace human beings. That's it.
Exactly. Back in the day, do you remember how many hours you practiced, sat down?
It all depends on the mood, but on an average, at least an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of disciplined practice is very needed, I feel, daily. And but at the same time, we just touched upon the topic of AI and mechanization. We are human beings. There will be days when we will wake up not as inspired. And on those particular days, it's okay to, I wouldn't say give it a skip, but probably do something that is, just do your paltas, just do your basic swaras, or something that resonates with you on that particular day. And it is absolutely fine to wake up uninspired on a particular day and to not feel like practicing on that day. Choose some other avenue, maybe listen to something else, or I would say, go with that.
Listen to our podcast.
But yes, 45 minutes of a dedicated practice would be good.
Yeah.
But it's not a crime if you don't practice on a particular day. That's what.
That's kind of like how I felt when I started playing the guitar. And I was like, okay, today I'm not feeling anything. Like, it's kind of a lazy kind of a day. I don't want my fingers to move today or something of that sort. I'll not practice today. And then the next day I woke up feeling guilty. Like, I wasted 2 hours yesterday. Great. Well, what should I do? Something of that sort.
I know, but sometimes that guilt is necessary, because if there is no guilt, then you will not get back.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's fine to indulge on a particular day. I feel it's perfectly human. Of course, we have to make sure that phase does not last for a very long time, and you get back soon to your practice schedule.
Yeah, absolutely.
From your experience of working in the music industry for so long, and you being a musician yourself, if you would suggest and give 3 practical ideas / advices to all the musicians and whatsoever level they are, including me, what would be there?
My God, you should have briefed me about this question. I would have prepared something, but 3 practical advices. I would say A, remain a disciple all your life. Try to keep learning something. If you outgrow a particular genre, it might happen that, okay, I've done enough of a particular type of music. I want to explore something else, or I want to educate myself with something else. Do that. But A, remain a disciple all your life. 2, I would say record your own music and listen to it after your practice. A lot of times that helps you see your own flaws.
Yeah.
Objectively. So don't be scared of recording and listening to your own practice sessions. It can be very scary and horrible after you listen to ye kaise gaya. But do that. And 3 is keep your social media presence very balanced. Something that does not bite into your self-worth, or your self-worth or self-esteem does not become dependent on it. But at the same time, make good use of it. Without paying a single rupee or any single penny, you are getting to post your content and you have the opportunity to make it available to everybody. So try to look at it like that, rather than falling into the trap. I guess these are the 3 practical advice I would give.
So people who are listening, take this advice seriously, including me as well. For the audience,
including myself.
Okay, including all of us. Come on, inclusive family. For the audience, I'm saying, as I said at the very start of this session, that she doesn't need an introduction. I'll list down all of her music, all of her work down in the description. Please do check her out. Check all her music out. Give it a listen, stream, support, do whatever you want, but do something, huh? And once again, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking out to Chauhan for the session. I really had a wonderful conversation. Even though we're talking for the first time.
Thank you.
For the audience, I'm saying, we're talking for the very first time. We haven't had a word with each other.
Oh yeah. No, not even a phone call. He's just mailed me. I replied to him saying, okay, yes, I would love to be a part of this series that he's doing.
Okay.
So, and I heard his music. He's also a very good musician. I believe you play the blues.
Right? Like a fusion, you can say. A lot of genres mixed, blues, jazz, and metal, and all of that stuff.
Okay. So good luck to you also for your journey.
Thank you. Means a lot.
Stay connected and...
All right. With that being said, a wonderful chat indeed. And probably I'll call you the next time when you have one new release or something of that sort. We'll chat over that, over coffee or something of that sort.
Definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining. It was a lovely time talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.